Well, guys, what an utter cluster of, like I've never seen before. The MoonSwatch. Go ask me tits. What a stupid, ridiculous mess. Look at this. This is cool. There's a kind of a boat school there. They actually construct the boats here. And they have a school where they drop you in and they teach you how to do the old rowing like the gondolieri do. The guys who operate the gondolas. Look at all these beautiful old boats. And their big workshop in there. I film a lot of watches here, so you probably recognize the spot. Isn't this beautiful? Sometimes at night you see them working away on their boats, sanding down and varnishing them and so on. Anyway, look, if you're not aware, this morning the MoonSwatch, the Omega and Swatch collaboration watch went on sale. It was laughable, to say the least. Thousands showing up for what turned out to be, I believe, in the region of 100 to 150 watches per place, per boutique. It was supposed to be 2 per person, which they rapidly changed to 1 per person last minute, probably in hopes to avoid riots. I think they narrowly avoided riots, honestly, in places like London. I was watching Tim Wright live this morning. I got a photo from a friend this morning who lives right by the boutique here. He is a gondoliere. He's a guy who operates the gondolas. And he's up at 6 a.m. every morning. He passes right by there. So he said to me yesterday, look, there's already 20, 30 people out there. This is last night. He said, I'll send you a photo in the morning of how many people are out there. That way you'll know if it's worth getting up and going and getting one, you know. Because I wouldn't mind one. It's not life-changing if I don't have one, but be good for the channel, show it on the channel, take some decent photos of it, which no one seems to be able to do, and including Omega themselves for the most part. Anyway, I got the photo. I was like, I'm not going to that mob. Come on. I have dignity. And I know I'm gonna sound like a fucking smarmy prick right now, but I don't want to be part of that shit. Sorry. I've worked too hard and too long. I come from a struggling working family. We had nothing. I left Ireland at 19, 20 years old. Actually came to Italy, then followed on to New York with 50 bucks in my pocket if I was lucky. I lived on sandwiches in the deli. I was homeless for a long stretch. I'm okay now, but I ain't standing in line for a bloody $250 watch. I've worked too hard to find myself where I am now. So I know not everybody gets to say that, and I understand that. And I saw some sincere people in that crowd there with Tim Wright this morning when he's talking to them that weren't, you know, flippers, because there were a lot of those guys too. It was very clear, you know, the younger guys with the hoodies and the backpack on. You're like, oh God, I wonder what you are, dude. You and your mates all looking to make a quick dollar or a quick pound. But there were a lot of people, like there was a father and a daughter, and he was like, look, I can't afford a real Speedy, and it's, you know, it's the next best thing, and it's only 250 bucks. And I felt for that guy, because he ain't gonna get one, not for a while, not for a few weeks. Probably it'll probably be all sorted in a couple of weeks, this crap. Anyway, so there were some genuine people there who just wanted, but the thing is, guys, and I've talked about this before, this just reminded me of it again. You know, the way the world is the way it is, and you wonder why it is the way it is? Maybe it grows that way naturally because of patterns of the way the world works. Like trees grow in certain places that has less wind. You know, if there's a less windy region, trees start to grow. If it's extremely windy, trees don't grow because nature just, that's the trial and error of nature. That's how it works. Well, here we are in this world where we have luxury items that cost shitloads of money, and it seems impossibly unfair to many. But I bet everybody's learned something about waiting lists right now. Can you imagine? Rolex got all fair and started selling their watches at a lower price and to everyone. The mobs. There just isn't enough room for everyone. You know, there's a reason why business class and first class on an aircraft is 9 seats and coach is 260 seats behind it. This is just the world we're in. What we saw today was a bunch of people who thought they could get an Omega Speedmaster, which they didn't. And by the way, I'm wearing an actual one, and I'm even more proud of it today than I was yesterday. And I was already saying something, I was already very proud of it. They're not getting a real Speedmaster. Actually, they're getting a bit of a laughable version. I know it's fun and colourful, and I wouldn't say no to one. I'd take one. It's very cheap, and hell, it's just an interesting watch to add to the collection. I have a lot of watches in my collection I never even wear. I probably should have never bought, but I just picked them up because they were fun. A lot of people on the Saturday today walking up and down. Look at this old dude. I think he gave up. He looks knackered. All on his own he owns. I guess he's waiting for them to clear out the landing spot there so they can pick him up. Anywho, I mean, who wants to be part of that mob? I mean, I'm turned off by the watch now. Not that everybody in that crowd was whatever, undesirable, but there were a lot of undesirable folks in that crowd. And I'm not talking about money, and so I'm talking about all the flipping and the... I mean, there was thousands and thousands. Aren't you glad? You know, this happened with Paul Thorpe recently. He bought a Ploprof. God, I said it wrong. From Omega, and they didn't give him much discount, and he was expecting discount because, you know, in the back of his mind, I'm sure Omega isn't Rolex and AP. It's a brand that should be discounted. That's not in my mind, by the way. I always regarded them as one of the kings. Non c'è uscita di là, non c'è. No, di là, the prossimo. So they didn't give him any discount, and he made a very good point then. He's like, you know what, in a way I'm happier. In a way I feel better about my watch now, because getting a discount or a heavy discount on a watch can cheapen it, can't it? And you don't want to walk around, especially a guy like Paul who has some beautiful pieces in his collection. You don't want to walk around with a watch that feels cheap, right? You don't want that. You want to be proud as punch. Otherwise we'd all wear replicas, because they look almost the same, but you know, it's that sick feeling when you put on a replica. You don't want that. In the same way, aren't you proud now, if you're an Omega Speedmaster owner, that your watch is expensive and is hard to get and has taken you time to work and save to acquire that? Oh my God, a kid nearly fell in the water. Oh my God. You little rascals. Little pups. you know, there's a beautiful thing about working hard to get something that costs a lot of money, that is hard to get. You know, there's something great about going into a beautiful restaurant and being seated at a gorgeous table and knowing that it's going to cost you a lot of money, but you worked hard for that money. Or maybe you're just privileged and lucky and your parents worked harder than you, or God knows what the situation is. But you get to, you know, when I started flying business, and I brought my mother through one of the times, I think it was going to New York, and I got the, you know, we paid extra for the upgrade. Just going through TSA, just going through the security, there was 800 people all standing in line for regular security, and there was no one in the business, and we just breezed through easy. And my mother, who's struggled her whole life and never had much, and feels guilty about spending every dime she spends, she looked at me and she said, you know what, son, she said, you know what, son, that was worth it just for that. Just so I didn't have to go through that. And sometimes that's the way the world is. If you're into luxury watches, this is what you're doing. In a way, you're setting yourself apart. It's not snobbery. It's not. It's not. So often, it's so much better to pay the extra and get the beautiful thing, get the amazing thing. And just seeing the herds, I think Omega have let themselves down. They've cheapened their brand even more. Swatch haven't, but Swatch have made idiots of themselves, because clearly they don't know how to handle a release properly at all. So that's a international embarrassment for them. Not that they'd probably care at all, but Omega should care. A lot of people now, I see posts today, I'm never buying Omega again. You know, they want to protest Omega just for allowing this bullshit to happen. Let's be honest. I don't know. This is a watch that you're supposed to pick up as a side watch, as a little silly thing. Had they made a girl's size, it would have been great. I would have got my daughter a pink one, whatever. But not to be, you know, not for lines of people who always dreamt of having a Speedy and this is their opportunity. They're not getting a Speedy, they're getting a piece of plastic with a quartz movement in it. It's not a Speedy. My God, the definition of a Speedmaster professional has drifted so far from the fucking coast at this point. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Anyway, now you might recalibrate a little about wait lists, about valued customer, or you know, these guys who spend a lot of money and then they get up in the line. Is it fair? Yes, it's fair, because that's how these things work. If you want a bigger seat on the plane, you have to pay for it. Maybe that's not right in our society. Maybe we should get rid of that and everyone should be exactly equal. But I don't think many people would be happy with that, because a lot of people will say, no, I work very hard and I want a garden in my house. That's going to take land that someone else could build on, but I want my kids to run and play in a garden, and I worked hard to build that garden. So, and that's always going to be there. Getting rid of that thing is getting rid of human nature. Anyway, if you pass my house, I get a lot of people saying, oh, why isn't your channel bigger than it is? It's a great channel. Thanks for that compliment. But they're like, you should be as big as that channel, or you should be bigger than that. I'm like, I don't want half those folks. I don't want them. Am I a snobby prick? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm worse. Maybe snobs would be insulted to be compared to me. I don't want certain crowds in my house. You know, that's like saying, passing my house, looking in the window and seeing me at dinner with 12 guests, all having great wine and great conversation. And then going down the street and seeing another YouTuber with 600 guests at huge long tables and chaos and madness and loud music, and saying, coming back to me and go, hey, why don't you have a big banquet like they have. You should get those people over to your... No, I don't want them. I don't fucking want them. I'm happy with my 12 very smart, very nice, you know, bunch. That's just me. It's a great thing. And you go into a boutique, be it Omega, be it Rolex, be it whatever, and you sit down on that big leather chair and they give you some champagne. They certainly do an Omega here. And you get to try on pieces that you've probably worked very hard to afford. And if you haven't, if you've always had a handout from your parents, okay, well, good for you. But would you like a mob behind you, looking over your shoulder? This happens in casinos as well. They have a red rope and the high rollers, so that there isn't a mob of sweaty, stinky people standing around them while they put down their thousands on the table. I thought we all knew how this shit worked. Anyway, there it is in the flesh, the result of that exact problem. Don't offer people what they think is a Speedy. Don't offer it for $250, because all in sundry will come looking. It's a disgrace. God help the people who waited for 12 hours and respectful of other people's positions in the line, only in the end to see queue cutters dive in last minute and just wander in the door, little fuckers. Oh man, this whole thing is making me sick. Can we get back to real watches, please?